10 segundos para inserção. 5 segundos. O desativador foi protegido novamente. Sua missão é localizar e desativar uma bomba.
Na cobertura, recarregando!
A bomba foi localizada. Prosseguir com desativação. Você derrubou o desativador.
Se fudeu! Granada flash nele.
This is the lockpicking lawyer, and what I have for you today is
Tesla has made a power bank for your phone, and it's rather interesting. Designed by Tesla, of course, this normally costs about $45 but it's completely sold out at the moment. It's interesting that inside the box, this Tesla charger comes with very specific instruction to not disassemble or repair it. So I think it's time to disassemble and repair it. Let's get started. This particular charger comes with the Lightning port for iPhones and a detachable micro USB for all those Android phones from 2015. Maybe Tesla will ship a
Restam 10 segundos. 5 segundos. Os inimigos localizaram uma bomba. Proteja. Os inimigos localizaram uma bomba. Preparar para combater. Aliados eliminados. Falha na missão.
A USB-C dongle for their next batch of chargers for the more modern Android phones. The black surface is made from plastic, and the silver protrusion, mimicking a cylindrical battery, is made from a thin metal. Getting inside this thing is rather difficult, and actually involved breaking some of the plastics. It's not designed to be opened up. Once inside, we get our first glimpse of the 18650 lithium-ion cell with a 3300 mAh capacity. This is the same exact battery found inside many of the Model S and Model X Tesla vehicles. Except for, there's thousands of batteries inside those cars, and this phone charger just has one. 2 screws hold in place both circuit boards on either side of the battery, and the whole contraption can pull away from inside the plastic housing. The neon green battery itself is soldered onto the main board, with leads headed to each of the terminals on each side of the battery. The copper wire strung up the side is probably for the temperature sensor. These 18650 batteries are actually extremely common, and can be purchased in bulk from Amazon or eBay for really cheap. So from a repairability standpoint, if you can solder, this thing can be replaced. I'll plug it into a power source and we can see the green LED at the end start flashing, indicating that the lithium-ion battery is charging. I'll plug that micro USB port into one of my Nokia phones, and we have power. It's definitely not the biggest power bank, and probably more of a collector's item than anything, but it's still cool that the same technology charging your cell phone is powering some of the coolest and fastest cars on the planet. I'll go ahead and plop the singular cell back into the plastic housing. To restore the plastic housing back to the perfect condition, I'd need some glue, since the plastic tabs holding this closed weren't meant to be opened and broke off during my intrusion. I'll toss a link in the description for these Tesla power banks when they become available again. Would you ever get one? Or would you rather save your money and just buy the whole car? I'm still trying to get my hands on a real Tesla to tear down. I'll keep you updated on Twitter, and thanks a ton for watching. I'll see you around.
Hey, I'm Bob and I like to make stuff. Today we're going to turn this storage room into my new office. This is my storage room, and it's going to be my office very soon, but there's a huge amount of work to get it there. I've got stud walls with drywall, no insulation, so I have to finish the outside of these. I've got air conditioning ducts that hang down and lower the ceiling. I've got these awful lights I have to take down. I've got concrete walls I've got to work around. My shop is on the other side of that wall, and on the other side of this wall is a big room with some windows. So to get some of that light into this room, we're going to knock a big hole in that wall and put in a window. Let's get to it. And also, I just got new glasses, and I don't have to wear them all the time, but they do work really well as safety glasses. I ended up just dragging these into my shop to use for storage, and then just started ripping apart all of the old shelving that was in the storage room. I saved a lot of this wood and tried to reuse it in other places, took down the old lights, and then started ripping off the old sheetrock from the ceiling. It was unfinished and pretty easy to do. The reason I
Defenda a localização.
Parede fortalecida!
Dispositivo em
Os
posição.
inimigos acharam uma bomba. Preparar para o ataque.
Dispositivo ativado.
Só mais 10 segundos. 5 segundos e contando. Os inimigos localizaram uma bomba.
Dispositivo ativado. Dispositivo ativado.
Sensor preparado.
Fazendo busca.
Repondo munição!
Preparando o sensor.
Ainda resta um agente inimigo vivo. Vitória aliada. Todos os inimigos foram eliminados.
Off the ceiling is because our living room is right up there. There's gonna be a lot of foot traffic and a lot of conversation up there, and I want to try to dampen that sound transfer as much as possible. I took that down so I could put insulation up there before I put the drywall back. But first, I want to get a baseline for how loud it is in here so that we can figure out whether it's actually going to do any good or not. On Amazon, I got this really cheap decibel meter. It was just a few dollars, and I got it several months ago for this specific reason. I wanted to be able to test the ambient noise in this room before and after I insulate the ceiling. So let's check out the ambient volume as it is right now in total silence. That's our baseline with nothing happening upstairs, no insulation, and nothing happening in this room.
O drone localizou uma bomba.
In a minute, I want to test it with my kids talking and running around upstairs to get another baseline for that. Then after we get the ceiling up and the room pretty much finished, we'll test it again to see what changed. This stuff is called Roxol Safe and Sound. I've never used it before, I just heard good recommendations from people, so I thought I'd try it out. Not a sponsor or anything. This is not a thermal insulation, it's just for fire and soundproofing, and they're just big bats that go in between the joists. They look really easy to put in, so I'm just gonna slide those in the joist, but my kids just got home from school, so let's check the ambient noise in here now.
Ergue a postos. Mantenho meu dispositivo.
Você derrubou o desativador. Resta um aliado.
Na esquerda aí, Ivan, na esquerda. Na direita, na cozinha.
These bats just slid up in between the joists like any other type of insulation. I wasn't wearing a long sleeve shirt here and my arms did get a little bit itchy, but this is not made of fiberglass, so it didn't itch me long term like normal fiberglass insulation would. This took me about an hour to get up and then I removed all of the nails from the previous drywall. At this point, I was still thinking about adding drywall again. I've got the insulation up in the ceiling, it's all ready to go, and I have all of the electrical work done. I didn't show you any of that because it's just kind of out of the scope of this video, but the next step is to cut a giant hole in that wall. We've got to cut out some 2x4s and drywall, but first we have to make a header to support the weight of that wall. Let's do that now. To make up this header, I cut down 2 pieces of 2x10 to the right length, and then some 1/2-inch plywood to the same length as well. I didn't have one piece that was the same size, so I kind of pieced it together and ended up with a thickness that was the same as a 2x4. This will make it fit within the framing. I glued all of these pieces together and then clamped them to hold them nice and flat, and used a framing nailer to drive in some 3-inch nails to make this one solid piece. This is way overkill for this particular instance.
Tô mancando o carpinteiro!
A parede foi reforçada!
10 segundos restantes. Só mais 5 segundos.
Repondo munição!
Já pode parar o
Inimigos
cartucho!
localizaram uma bomba. Preparado para combater.
But better safe than sorry. By the way, this wall is not load bearing. If it was, I would